Tekken 8 is within reach, and from the looks of it, a lot has changed since the last game. The closed network tests and the closed beta tests are done and a playable demo is here. You can almost taste the full release of this game. It can become overwhelming for the average gamer to take in all of the changes, both in the story, the systems, and the overall functionality of Tekken 8. That's why we are here to keep you up to speed and ready for the next battle. A franchise with years on its back and lots of characters is expected to have rich world building and deep intertwining lore. As for the story of Tekken, it mainly focuses on key figures in the Mishima bloodline. Here's the plot so far of this patricidal power struggle. Heihachi Mishima hosts the King of Iron Fist tournament to bring out the best fighters in the world and see who can win a large sum of cash from the Mishima Zaibatsu, Heihachi's own multinational conglomerate. He believed that his 5-year-old son, Kazuya, was too weak to inherit the company and threw him off a ravine. Fueled by anger and hate for his father, he spends his years training and enters the King of Iron Fist tournament to exact his revenge. In a clash between father and son, Kazuya wins the tournament. Through good old poetic justice, he throws his father into the same ravine. With Kazuya as the leader of the Mishima Zaibatsu, his influence grew, and another tournament with a bigger prize pool was announced. There he meets Jun Kazama, a mysterious woman who entered the tournament and did not fear him in her approach. They end up getting married and having a child, but we'll talk about that later. In the tournament finals, it was revealed that Heihachi survived the fall. Surviving this ravine surely runs in their blood. In the end, Heihachi was victorious in their rematch and threw Kazuya off a volcano this time. Heihachi heard legends of an ultimate source of power deep within South America, but ultimately failed in finding it. Jin Kazama, son of Jun Kazama, seek Heihachi and train to become stronger following his mother's dying wish. In the tournament, he encounters what he remembers as his mother's killer and thought to defeat it on his own. Heihachi did not want Jin to get rid of this ancient creature that he sought after for so long. He gets rid of Jin the best way he knows how. Jin does not remember what happened, but we all remember that this was when Devil Jin was born. In his search for Jin, Heihachi was led to G Corporation, a biotech firm. Here he finds out that they have retrieved a body from a volcano. Heihachi learns that Kazuya's body was secured by G Corp and was being rebuilt and kept in a laboratory somewhere. He orders the Tekken Force, the Mishima Zaibatsu's own private military, to raid these laboratories and assassinate Kazuya. But the plan ultimately fails as Kazuya escapes. Heihachi, angry that his plans were ruined, calmed down and started the King of Iron Fist Tournament 4, where the prize is inheritance of the entire Mishima Zaibatsu to lure both Kazuya and Jin. Kazuya, knowing fully well that it's a trap, decides to join the tournament anyways to exact his revenge. In the pivotal battle at Honmaru, we see Jin and Kazuya battling it out, father and son like we are familiar with. At this point in time, Jin has abandoned the Mishima fighting style and adopted his own fighting style for plot purposes. And not because they didn't want Kazuya and Jin to play the same way while also existing in the same game at once. In the end, Jin beats Kazuya, and Heihachi takes advantage of this opportunity to take the power for himself. Ultimately, Heihachi loses, and Jin manifests his devil powers and almost kills Heihachi. But he doesn't, after exhibiting control by remembering his mother. Jin flies off with no recollection of what happened next. After Jin's departure, the estate gets attacked by Jack units. Kazuya and Heihachi team up to defeat the Jack robots, but Kazuya betrays Heihachi, which leads to this iconic moment. The destruction of Honmaru frees Jinpachi Mishima, who was imprisoned by Heihachi after taking over the Mishima Zaibatsu 50 years ago. The King of Iron Fist Tournament 5 is announced to figure out who is strong enough to defeat Jinpachi Mishima and who can take over Heihachi's corrupt reign over the Mishima Zaibatsu. Jin wins the 5th tournament and takes over Mishima Zaibatsu. Now this is where it gets weird. This part of the writing feels super confusing in terms of character motives, so we don't blame you. We would blame you though if you don't like and subscribe right now. For some reason, Jin is using the power of the Mishima Zaibatsu to start a literal world war. Different nations are sent into turmoil due to Jin's actions. Kazuya takes over G Corporation once again and issues a substantial bounty on Jin's head. In response, Jin announced the 6th King of Iron Fist Tournament, the war between Mishima Zaibatsu and G Corporation, or more importantly, father and son, raged on. We find out the reason Jin plummeted the world into war and chaos was to awaken Azazel, an ancient demon that would resurrect after feeding off of war and chaos. He believes that getting rid of Azazel would get rid of the devil gene, freeing the world from this problem, but that certainly was not the case. And this ultimately ended up being pointless. Also, Zafina captured Azazel and took its powers, so... After Azazel's defeat, Jin was considered MIA, and the war between the Mishima Zaibatsu and G Corporation continued. The winner of this war would have the whole world under his control. Heihachi, who was unconscious the entire time after his supposed death, saw the opportunity to take over the Mishima Zaibatsu in Jin's absence. So he single-handedly beats anyone and everyone, Nina included, to take over and takes control. Meanwhile, Lars and his group were able to locate and find Jin in the Middle East and immediately brought them to their hideout to recover and bide their time until it was time to strike. Heihachi's first step to stop Kazuya's world domination is to expose him as a devil and shoot the Millennium Tower of G-Corp with an orbital laser, which he, of course, survives. Kazuya is now publicly seen in his devil form and is receiving public scrutiny. In retaliation, he shoots down the satellite with his own devil laser. It plummets down to Earth and causes destruction around the world. The world then forgets all about Kazuya's devil form and paints the Mishima Zaibatsu as the villains. After all that nonsense, Heihachi reveals to a reporter, a journalist that's a victim of this blood feud, that what he has been doing was to get rid of the devil gene. Not really because he's just the worst person ever. From killing the wife he loves so much because she has the devil gene and pass it on to Kazuya, to throwing Kazuya into a ravine because he wanted to get rid of the devil gene he inherited. To end it all, both father and son face each other in the mouth of an active volcano. Kazuya, fueled by the rage of not knowing the real reason Heihachi killed his mother, gives it his all. After a hard-fought battle between father and son, Heihachi loses and dies. For real, he does this time.
Heihachi Mishima is completely dead.
And for the last time, Kazuya throws his body down into an active volcano, just like what Heihachi did to him back in Tekken 2. Akuma steps in afterwards with the promise to Kazumi of getting rid of their bloodline. The two of them fight, but the outcome of this fight was not shown. Sums up his whole involvement in the story. Goes in, fights, doesn't affect anything the story, and refuses to elaborate. After the death of Heihachi Mishima, Kazuya plunges the world into a deeper state of chaos. Meanwhile, in some other part of this world, Jin awakens from his injuries with his newfound allies. He reassures them that this time, he will surely put a stop to Kazuya and all of the wars around the world. Never mind the fact that he started some of them himself. And now, we arrive at Tekken 8. The Mishima saga continues, where Jin is expected to face Kazuya and put an end to his world domination one last time. And look here, Jun is alive? So many questions. In hindsight, there really wasn't a 7th King of Iron Fist tournament. And if there was one, Jin is looking to be its newest champion and savior of the world. What would the story of future Tekken games look like with the family feud over after this iteration of the game? Remember World Tour from Street Fighter 6? Arcade Quest is its own take on the free-roaming, player-character story-driven game mode. This is where you take your chibi form and fight in different arcades to claim to be the best there ever was. Character customization looks more promising, with more categories to work on, such as eyes and shoes which weren't present before. The designs look so much better and the items that can be used are equally, if not sillier, than the previous game. In addition to this, your avatar in Arcade Quest and Fight Lounge can be customized with various different items. You can personalize both your fighter and your avatar in the new and improved customization. Tekken 8 introduced a lot of systemic changes into how the game works. Korean backdashes are not as good anymore, sidestepping is better, and combos have changed with the new tornado mechanic. It's the new combo gimmick in Tekken 8. It's sort of like a combination of both bound and screw with how they worked in the previous games, as they both function as combo fillers and extenders. The biggest change in the game has to be the introduction of the heat gauge, a once per round resource that allows you to become more aggressive, deal chip damage, and have access to different heat-centric moves. Kind of like the drive system from Street Fighter 6, but different in a way that it is a once per match install, or powered up state. This plays well with the existence of the familiar rage system. Modern fighting games nowadays are focusing on their connection quality arms race. The game is only as good as its netcode, and a horrible one can ruin even the best game. While the CNT has not been promising with its quality, Tekken 8 bounced back with what they have shown on the CBT. It may not be as good as Street Fighter 6 netcode, but it's definitely light years ahead of its predecessor, which is already better than Rollback is 3. Plus, they have crossplay now, something you would think they should have since Tekken 7, but surprisingly didn't. More players to match with means no more waiting for hours in the practice mode limbo while waiting for a match. Sadly, the arcade deathmatch culture of Tekken 7, where there is no limit in how many times you can rematch someone in an online match, is gone and is replaced with your usual first to two set before getting re-queued into something else. This is further reinforced by the fact that you can't drop ranks below Warrior. That's probably a thing for sure. High likelihood that the Warrior rank matches are incredibly high variance from someone who belongs to somewhere below Warrior to someone that should have been Tekken God Omega. Although it kind of fixes the issue of finding matches at lower ranks, so I see this as an absolute win. Here are a few other things to note that are not that big of a deal to some, but are a game changer to others. Running the game on Unreal Engine 5 is bound to demand more from gamers and probably even from consoles. The game looks great, and the tech advances are impressive, making every match look as cinematic as possible. This comes with the inherent risk of your system, and maybe even houses potentially catching on fire. Not to mention how a drop in frames and performance affects the connectivity with other players. So even if the CBT network tests are great, this can make or break it for everyone. Did we mention it's 100 GB minimum? Unlike Street Fighter 6, while including different modes like World Tour and Fighting Ground is optional, Tekken 8 isn't so promising with managing space. So get to cleaning up your backlog and make some space for this behemoth. Tekken 8 introduces the special style, Tekken 8's modern control scheme, which allows for versatile use of the character's different options, while also making it easier to perform combos as well. It isn't like their easy commands from the previous game. This is a lot more contextual, with the player's core moves compared to Tekken 7's simple commands that are just horrendous single-button commands that sometimes use moves that are not even good. Tekken is not foreign to the idea of season passes, as some of its legacy characters are left to be DLCs in the future, perhaps due to popularity reasons leading to less usage of the character and an overall waste of development time in the end. This means that whatever the price tag of this game is gonna be, it's bound to inflate higher than that. $70? $110 for the Ultimate Edition? Tekken 7 costs $109.99 for the definitive edition with everything in it. This is over the course of 8 years. Tekken 8 will have a price tag of $110 for the Ultimate Edition without the promise of everything in it yet. Only avatar costumes for your arcade quest. We hope we armed you with all you need before diving into Tekken 8. That was a lot. To summarize, this is the final family fight. A great bonding time with fathers and sons. Cool avatar story mode. New characters. More customization options. Enhance and rework gameplay. Better netcode. PC and console crossplay. Crazy system requirements. You got all that?
Great.
So get ready for the next battle, and we'll see you in the next video.